Hello everyone, and thank you for coming today. We are starting a new stream, so thanks for coming, thanks for joining me. We are in a new location. I have moved house. This is my new desk setup. I'm back on the Mac Mini, which means I don't have to look at a tiny 13-inch screen while streaming. I'm back on a nice 24-inch screen, so I can relax a little bit and we can sit back and I can just enjoy the stream. So if you're new here, thanks for joining. Hey Freak, good to see you, buddy. So what are we doing today? Today we are going to start a brand new package. Let me bring over my terminal. So let's just go back to GitHub, me. Haven't got anything in here. Cool. So create something called a workflow. Love the theme, thanks very much. Yeah, I upgraded to Ecamm Pro not that long ago, and yeah, the 4K helps. I pretty much got the same setup as you, Rick, if I'm honest. Nice board. Yeah, my wife decided to write on my board. I got a few stickers there, and I'm back. I've only been away for like one stream really, so it's not that bad. I haven't been away for that long. Right, so let's bring PHP Storm up. Yeah, I've always had that. It might be just the aspect ratio of my camera itself. I don't know if there's anything I can really do about that one. I've not really dived in too far into the settings, but I'll have a look next time. So we're going to start a new project from existing files. This is a brand new project. We're going to go GitHub, me, workflow, and let's just get this started. So we've got, apparently it's not showing the entire screen, which is really annoying. So let's have a look at what's going on there. $16 by 9, there we go, let's get that in there. Yeah, I think I got it, Oh, I can have wide 16 by 9, classic square, I can have a circle. Ooh, classic 4 by 3. Yeah, we'll stick with a classic 4 by 3 for now. Let's just stick me down here. Here we go. I'm not the star of the show, my code is, so let's go with that. Right. Right, let me just turn my phone to be quiet. I've had to have it on loud recently because I'm very far from the front door and we cannot hear the doorbell. So let's get started. Workflow. What we're going to be building today is a PHP package which allows you to do kind of like GitHub Actions style workflows in PHP. So you'll be able to have like YAML or JSON in a config file or pass it in as a string and it will just run it for you. Very relatively basic concept, nothing too outrageous, just something a little bit fun. So the first thing that we need to do is initialize it as a Git repo, and then we can compose it in it also. But what I'm going to do this in Warp because we need a good view of this, right? So we can say composer in it. Just deking workflow, a simple PHP workflow package for now. Stick with that. This is a library, always MIT. I don't want to define any dependencies or namespacing right now. I do want to do that, so that's good. We've started. So that's, if you've never used that before, that's really just basic kind of composer init script, and it just works really nicely. Let me reload that from disk now. So what we've got a very simple package here. So I can say that my role was a developer and that my homepage making up my own domain endings there, aren't I? So this is going to require PHP 8 as a minimum. Any new packages that I build, wow, what am I doing? Trying to take screenshots while I'm live coding. Pressing too many buttons, it would appear. So minimum stability, I like to move that to the end. This is where I start to get a little bit picky with setup. Then I also have to say prefer stable as true. And then we add on the last bit is always config, and I always add in the sort packages true and optimize autoloader as true as well. So basically all we're doing here is random things playing on in the background. It was playing a random playlist, I apologise about that. So yeah, what we do is we prefer stable, and minimum stability is dev. That means that we can have like dev main packages in there, but we are going to prefer stable where available. And then we're going to sort our packages, and we're optimizing our autoloader. So we're pretty much good to get started, right? So a few things we know we're going to need to install. So we can git add that, git commit, and we'll call this composer setup. And there we go. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to say, we're going to require some level of testing, right? So let's get pests straight in there. Why even pretend, right? We're going to use pest. So then we can do vendor bin pest init. Already started it. So there we go. So now if we just reload this again, we now have our tests. And if we run our tests ourselves, we've got testing working. So we can git add this, git commit, and we can say adding test PHP for testing. So the next thing that we really want to look at is we want static analysis, right? So we want to say composer require PHP stand / PHP and that is a dev dependency. So there we go. We've got a PHP stand in there. So the only thing that we need to do is get a PHP stand setup. Right, have I done anything? I was doing writing a tutorial earlier for work, so I'll open this up. Here we go. So we want our PHP stand, so I'll just grab that. So we don't need that, we just want this. So I can now come over to here. Oh, why is that all the way over there? New file php stand.neon. Yes, add anything external, and we're good. Right, so we don't have any default rules right now, so we'll keep that as we are. So we can vendor bin php stand analyze. It's got nothing to figure out yet. Eventually that's going to go into source, so I can go. Okay, let me just refix this window. See if that fixes that issue quickly. Here we go, new directory source. There we go. Let's pull over my chat so I can see what's going on. Hey Samuel, good to see you, mate. Do you like the setup? It's kind of cool, isn't it? It's my nice new setup, and it works. It's really comfy. I can sit back, I can relax. Got my big screen over there. You could probably just about see Spotify moving around in the window over there. It's quite nice. I quite enjoy it. So, right. Let's analyze one more time. We're good. We're starting off with no errors. That's what we like, right? And obviously, our PHP stand rule is set to be like as strict as it goes. It is level 9. It is as strict as we can possibly make it. So let's try and make sure that we keep it nice and clean and nice and strict. So what I tend to do when I'm building packages is I start with a README. So what I like to do is I just like to kind of describe the package a little bit. So this package is aimed to be a simplistic PHP workflow package that works in a similar fashion to GitHub Actions. Now I haven't quite decided parts of it, I'm not gonna lie, this is an idea I've been playing with. The next step is always installation. I'm leaving this for blank right now because it's not published. And then we'll have usage. And this is where I like to dive into it a little bit more. So I'd like to just kind of like describe how I want to use a package first, because what we're going to have like this this runner. So we're going to have a workflow runner. And what we want our runner we want to add things to our runner. This could be workflow make from a file somewhere, test.yaml, for example. And then we'll have our runner. So what we're doing is we're going to be building up this kind of this queue of runners, this queue of kind of workflows, and we're just going to run through each one. Each workflow can have many jobs, and the runner can hold many workflows, much like you would with GitHub Actions, I suppose. So my first thing is in my tests down here, I'm just going to create a new directory called fixtures. No, they're not quite fixtures, I'm not going to lie, they're more kind of example files or stubs, but I'm going to call them fixtures for now. So we're going to have a test.yaml, and in this test.yaml I want to have like a name. Yeah, this is the name of the workflow. The jobs that this one runs, we've got one called test where we're going to run something, and that's it. So then the next one would be another, and that is then going to run something else. Now, unfortunately, we can't do something like in like GitHub where we can just pull in a repo or pull in a package where it's like something / this. That would be nice, but it's a string, and strings. Doing a string for that's just a little bit messy when you're going to be dealing with classes. So what I want to do, I want to have like a target class. So this would be like a class name, and then the method that we're going to call on it is like run, for example. And then on this one we could have target class name and then the method we want to access is called another, same class maybe. But then what we're also going to have, we're going to have some arguments. We can pass through some arguments, and these arguments could be, a string, could be a boolean, not a boolean, sorry, an integer, or it could be a boolean. And that's a long and short of it. That's kind of what I want to be building here. I want to be building a really cool little, I can define this really nice and easily, but I also want to be able to define this as a JSON file too. So let's say I want to create that as a JSON file instead. So what we're going to have, the name of our workflow is test. And the jobs are going to be, what did I do there? I was saying that just writing JSON on its own. So the jobs are going to be, okay, so the name is test, and it is going to run the target is class name. The method is run. And then we could say like the arguments are test 10 and 3. And then again, let's copy that. And we're just going to mirror it, make sure they're roughly the same. So we're just going to have one argument there. This name is another, and we're going to call this one another. Let's just run that, run array in the background because we're going to need that. So what I would do is I'm going to not full screen this, I'm going to pop this over on the left half, bring Ray to the front and pop that on the right hand side. There we go. So I've got my, I can run commands and I can start seeing them pop up over here. So yeah, from an organization perspective, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. So let's get started. So what do I want to start with? Let's clean, make sure that's valid. That's fine. No complaints on that one, good. So first step, let's just commit some stuff. Compose a lock. And readme setting up package requirements. And we can get add anything in tests, so git commit. Creating some example fixtures. So we're good. We're getting there. Next step is what we want to do is, well, let's start with one thing like the workflow builder or the workflow runner or something. The workflow runner. So one package I know we're going to need. And that is a Symphony YAML package. Because we want to read it out. We can use like the YAML parse file, but what I found is that the Symphony YAML package actually reads JSON just as well, which is mind-blowing. One last package I know that I need is, let's just Google it, sparsely Ray. So I need to, I've got that. Sparsely Ray, not the product. Let's get it here. Let's go to docs. So if you've not used, I've not used this Mac in a little while, if I'm honest. So if I come over to the docs, so what I want to do is I've already got the app, framework agnostic PHP. I just want to install this, but I want that to be a dev dependency because I'm not going to use it for other than debugging purposes. So I need it as a dev dependency. What that's going to allow me to do is just run things a little bit nicer, especially when it comes to doing a stream. You know, when you're doing a stream, you want people to be able to see what's going on, and yeah. I don't know if you've heard of that one, Frick. Frick just said, "Ooh, Ray." I'm not sure if he's heard of it, but it's a really, really cool little debugging program. Super useful. You should definitely check it out. Sorry, the lighting's a little bit rubbish in here, isn't it? Sorry. Brand new house. Haven't figured everything out yet. I have got an Elgato light up here, but every time I turn it on, it turns off again. So I'll figure that one out another time. Another thing for me to figure out. Ooh. Wow, okay. It stayed on this time. So next step is we've got all that sort. We've got Ray installed. So what we want to do is let's look at. Cheers, Frank. Definitely check it out. Definitely. So we need like a workflow runner, really, don't we? Definitely going to need like a workflow runner. So let's start with our first bit of PHP. So new PHP class. Actually, no. Composer configuration. What are we doing, Steve? Come on. Okay, that's doing stuff for me. I like my setup done in a very specific way. I'm a little bit picky like that, I suppose. And we will be using PSR4, and we will be loading in just Steve King, workflow, and that is under the source directory. So now I can just do a quick composer update, and we are good. So in here, I can now create a new class. If I update it through here, hopefully it will then know indexing, yeah, cool, scanning, doing stuff, lots of cool stuff. I create a new, oh come on, why are you not picking it up? Okay, we'll get back to that one. So we're going to create a workflow runner, and this is under just Steve King workflow. So obviously we've got declare strict types. There's a JSON. See, it hasn't got PHP. What's going on? What's happened to my PHP Storm? I've not used this machine for such a long time. So I need to go to language frameworks, PHP. Why does it always default to that one? There we go. So I'm on PHP 8 locally. I haven't updated to PHP 8.1 on this yet. That's typically what I would do in Docker personally. I'll keep 8 here for now until all of my CLI tools have swapped over. Basically, that's kind of like what I'd like to do. So if we have a look at this, we want a workflow runner. We're going to have like a public static function build, and what that's going to do is going to return a new like static self basically. So return new static, and we're good. But what we want to do is a protected constructor, meaning that, you know, we don't want it to do much, basically. We really don't want it to do much. So the only thing that I want to quickly add in here is perhaps instead of just doing add, I want to be able to say, actually, I want to add in my initial workflow there, and then I can have multiple workflows, right? So I can add my initial one, or yeah, workflows is going to be an array or something. There we go. So I can pass through like an array of workflows here. So there's that. So in here we can add a protected array of workflows. And we don't actually have to add a default value there because we're doing it through here. We're being very specific here of giving a default value, and because it's a protected constructor. It means that it's never going to get called directly, which is fine. Evening, Mark. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing okay. So we've got this far. Where do we go next? So the first thing, obviously, we need to start thinking about testing. So let's just delete that example test. And let's start. So we want a workflow runner test. Workflow runner test. So we want to do things like it can create a new workflow runner with no workflows. You know, we want to be able to build up our initial our runner and just say, just don't give it anything. We don't mind. We just want a workflow runner to start working with. Simple as that. So all we really want to do here is say we want to get that workflow runner. We want to build it, and we expect this to be an instance of workflow runner. I know it sounds silly, really simple test, but it's that initial test. There we go. It can create a workflow runner with no workflows. So we're good. We've got our initial test to say that we can do this. We can build and we are good. My next rule is going to be something a little bit more specific. So let's come down to here. Let's create some contracts. And our array here, I want this to be an array of workflows. And each one should be implementing the workflow contract. Contracts, and this is an interface, and we're good. So now I can import that class, and we just know that anything that we accept needs to be having a workflow contract. So let's just make sure we're still good, and we are. So we can build and we're good. Next step is I suppose we need to kind of flesh out that. Well, it doesn't really need to flesh much out, does it? So our workflow is it's not going to have much method on it. It's just going to be like more of a kind of DTO value object style thing. So our next step is we need like a loader, I suppose. We need to be able to like load some of this. So we've got a workflow runner, and then we want to be able to make a workflow. So really, that's going to be like a loader. This could be like a Json loader, and we want to load that, which is going to return a workflow. And then an alternative would be like a Yaml loader, for example. Something like that. So what we'll have going on there is we could load from specific config files like that, and we can be super explicit. It allows us to extend as well. So, you know, we can have a TOML loader, or we could have an ini loader. We could start to, we're making it extendable from the start by being specific, but these loaders will have a common contract interface underneath them. So let's create our loader contract. So here is our loader contract, and how we want this to work is basically we have a public static free function load, And that should, for now, we're just going to return an array. Keep it clean, return an array. So we can start creating some loaders. So within our loaders, what we're going to want first is probably like something maybe a little bit more abstract. No, this is going to have a path, isn't it? So string path. So we need to say load from this path. Cool. Working out in my head as we go along. So let's create our JSON YAML loader first. YAML loader. So our YAML loader workflow loaders is going to implement the loader contract. So we can quickly just tidy some of this up. Got a load on it. That's good. So to load this, all we need to do for now is return, we're going to cast this to an array because we're going to use a YAML component, and we're going to pass the file, and that file name is going to be that path that's being passed in. So it is like really simple, really simple. Pass file, it returns mixed, but we want it to be an array. Super simple, super clean. That's kind of what I'm going for now. This is obviously going to be extendable and worked on a little bit more as time goes on, but for now, it kind of works. I've got a YAML loader, so what I want to do is get an array back. So to kind of test this, pardon me, what I need a test for my loaders. So let me close other tabs and let's create a new directory in here called loaders, and we're going to create a YAML loader test. So in our YAML loader test, we want to say we want to make sure it can read a YAML file and return an array. So what we need is we need our loader. So to get our loader, we need to go YAML loader load. Simplify that quickly. So we're gonna move the back level into fixtures, test YAML, and we should now have an array, right? Database load. Well, hey, who knows? If you really want one, maybe I'll give you one, right? So what we really want, we want to expect that when we run the YAML load from a path, we expect this to be an array. And for now, I'm going to keep it at that. Cool. But what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to output what we get. We get name and jobs. We get 2 jobs. Cool. So our YAML loader is working. So what we can do is we can say we also expect that name to equal test for now. We're good. So we know that we're loading it, and we know we're being able to access parts of the kind of a config. So sorry, clicked one of the links there. So there's our YAML loader, that works. So let's look at our JSON loader. And this is what I found quite interesting. loaders, implements for loader contract, simplify. So if I just grab that this exact same thing, why have I put refactor that to there? Sounds a bit silly. So let me just do this. I'm just going to do the exact same thing because I did play around with this package before, and it let me just pass in JSON instead of YAML, and it just worked. So I want to just run a test and just see if it works while I'm here. So it'll be the same thing as this, but instead of the YAML loader, we're going to use a JSON loader. So it works exactly the same way. So I don't actually need more than one loader right now. I will keep them the same just in case people want to be specific. What I'd probably do if I wanted to be really specific, was to go kind of and load it as JSON, file get contents as an associative array. But for some reason, have I got a browser? Yeah, I do have a browser open. Okay, so Symphony YAML component. So it passes. I don't know if it uses something else under the hood, but it literally will pass whatever you give it at, from the sounds of it. So I'm literally passing a file, and it's just loading absolutely fine. So I'm gonna stick with it for now. Just keep it as it is. YAML loader, JSON loader, they kind of do the same thing, but hey, what can you do? Got a few things going on in here, so we're going to add some composer stuff. Add the contracts, I will say git commit, adding contracts, git commit, git add source, sorry. Commit that and say building loaders and workflow runner, git add tests, git commit tests. So I hate that file so badly. Cool. So hey Dave, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you, good to see you. We are getting on. Been streaming now for, let's see, 39 minutes. And we have got a loader and we've got a runner. And what happens is we load an array. The loader gets a file, turns it into an array. We can then work with that to turn that into a workflow to pass to our loader. So, next step is our, I suppose, workflow builder would be the right one. So Here's our workflow runner. What we also need is a class called workflow builder. That doesn't implement or extend anything right now, so we are good there. And what we want, this is going to have a one method, static function, and we're just going to have make, and we're going to have pass in our loader. Pardon me. So we're going to pass in our loader. I think. Wait, let me take a step back. Go back to our README. So these will return arrays. So this workflow builder wants to accept an array for the workflow, and then we want to, within here, we want to turn an array into workflow. Return workflow. That's kind of all we need it to do. So what we need is this array. What we need it to do is, what can we do? Let's just array out that workflow there, and let's create a quick workflow builder test so we can see how this is going to work. So it can create a workflow from an array. So do we want it to be from an array? I kind of need it to be right now. It's less of a builder, it's more of a factory, workflow factory. We'll keep it as builder for now because it's building something one and the same for what we're after here. So let's expect that when we go workflow builder make, that's going to accept an array called workflow. So let's get that Yaml loader and load the path pass that file in there, simplify that one. That's fine. Load that path. And we want to expect that. We're just going to say to be an array for now. So we're just going to return that workflow. So now when we run our test, we're just going to kind of get name jobs, exactly what we did get above. So what we need to do within here, we need to kind of like break this out. We need to create our value objects to start with. So we're going to have a job. So our value objects, and this value object is going to have, if we look at our job, if we go back to array, is going to have a name and what it's going to run. Going to have a name, a target, a method, and an array of arguments. So within here, we can go to our constructor, public function construct, have a public string name. a UID on it as well, just because uniqueness. So UUID name, public string, target, public string, method, and a public array of args. So that is a job. That's how we're defining a job. It's going to have these things, a name for the job, what we're targeting, the method on that class, and any arguments that we need to kind of pass into it. And obviously we're going to add a UUID in just for fun because we like UUIDs. It's really good for referencing. So what we also need is we need to get a workflow. So our workflow also has a name. So you can go public function construct. We're going to have a public string name and a public array of jobs. And here we have an array. What do we do? Why did array go all the way over there all of a sudden? There we go. So this is going to be integer, and it is actually going to have a job in there as well. So that's how we want those to work. So let's just add some of that in there, and let's just quickly unsafe new static and make has no return type. So the workflow runner is failing. So what we can do is make that a final class, and we can just say return itself. I'm not going to extend this. I might remove that final later on. I might play around with that so it can be extended by other people. And then obviously the workflow builder make is something that we're actually working on right now. What we want that to return is actually a workflow value object. So we need to get the jobs. So if we look at that, we've got jobs. We need to go a workflow is a new workflow. The name is going to be workflow name. And we're going to make jobs nullable for now, because we want to be able to add to it. So we've now got a workflow, which means that we can add to it we can go for each. Okay, not going to call that workflow. We're going to call this, that's coming from a loader, we're going to call this just payload. So for each payload jobs as a job, we need to then, yeah, cheers Nathan, yeah, it went really well. So I'm talking over there, but camera's over here. Yeah, it actually went pretty well, thank you. It went pretty well. So let me just quickly lay out that job quickly. Unnamed workflow, that's fine. There we go, so we've got one called run. Okay, so we're actually not getting that name from here as I'm pretty sure array can accept more than one parameter in a row. So there we go. Let me just kind of clear that view down. So name what it is, name what it is. We're getting somewhere. So now what we can do is we can array push, and the first array is going to be the workflow jobs, and the array that we want to push into it is going to be a new job. That name is going to be name. The UUID is going to be Ramsey UUID, which is Ramsey. So we can go UUID, UUID 4 to string. Cool. So then we've got name. Our target is going to be the job target. The method is job method. And the args are job args. So return that workflow. Let's just see what happens now. We're failing. Undefined key target. Okay, so if we just array and die on job, let's see what we're getting. So we've got an array with a key of run. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use, I can't use it because that's a Laravel function. Darn it. For time being, you wish you had a Laravel available, right? So let's just swap these out with job there and that there. That's good. That's good. Okay, we're dying. Array push must be a type of array, null given. Okay, so this workflow here, what we want is, don't want it to be null, we want it to be an empty array by default. Will it let us do that? Failed asserting that value object is an array. Okay, so that's not what I'm trying to do. So I'm just going to grab that. I'm going to bring it out of the expectation because I'm not actually wanting to test it yet. I'm just running it and seeing how it works. Didn't perform any assertions. That is good. That's what we wanted. So we're able to get a workflow built, in essence. Feels messy, but we'll walk back through that in a minute. So, workflow runner build. So workflow runner build. We've got an array of workflows. We could pass this through straight away. And all this would need to do is go through the workflow builder, get that payload from here, and it looks good. And again, it's exactly the same here for the Yaml Loader. So it works the way that we want to do that part. So let's just commit that. So get status. So let's delete that a minute. Holy cow, what's going on with my computer today? What is it doing? So, okay, something died. Apparently something died, so I do apologise for that. Just Steve, no. We can test and we're good. We've got one whiskey test. That's fine for now. Let me just take a quick sip of my drink. What else do we need to commit right now? Workflow value objects for now. Git commit workflow runner and builder, getting a little closer to the API we want. Right, we are getting there. We are getting there. So what we've got is this code will actually work. Obviously it won't run yet, but we can build a workflow runner and we can pass in from some workflows nicely and easily now. So that bit works as I would expect. I suppose what we need next is we need to kind of run them, right? We've got this far. We can pass through some workflows. We can do stuff, but I think we're gonna have to write some tests. So if I just come to Stubs quickly, for example, and we're gonna create just like a test, and we're gonna say just seeking workflow Stubs. This is a workflow, so this is going to have a public function run on it, and this run is going to have a message, going to have a number, and it's going to have an option. It's going to return an array. And what this array is do is it's going to return a message, a number, and the option. Something really clean, really simple, just to test that we can actually get this running. And obviously we're going to have a public function another, which if we go back to our fixtures, here's our class name as run, message, and it's just going to have one. So it's going to have string, message, string, and we're good. That is, relatively clean for what we need it to be. That is like our workflow there. So we can grab this, we can, in our workflows down here, We'll swap these over. And the idea will be that this workflow will return that as an array, and this workflow will just return that. That is the idea. So, let's have a workflow builder test. Let's just quickly go and do a... How are we doing on coverage? No code coverage driver is available. Let's see if PHP monitor is installed and running. It is. Turn X debug on. And there we go. So we've got relatively good coverage. Here we go. So what we don't have coverage on is our stub or our value objects, and that workflow builder has 0 coverage so far. That is fine. So that workflow builder, I'm just going to close other tabs and have a look at this. So we expect that to return a workflow basically. So we expect this to be an instance of workflow. And we expect name to equal test. So now let's have a quick look. We're getting better. And now it's just our stub that isn't working. We haven't used our stub yet, and that's fine because that's our next step. So we know we can build up a lot of this stuff in the background, and our next step is to go, okay, so our workflow runner, we want to be able to run this workflow. So public function run. Oh, right, how is this going to go? How are we doing on the chat? We all doing good, everyone? Everyone following along okay? I hope so. I hope so. So, what we need, we know, so we could fail a run. It is entirely possible that something could fail. So we want a quick custom exception called workflow exception. Stick that under exceptions, and this is it's just going to extend the standard runtime exception. Simplify that one. Nice and clean. Don't need much more than that. So all we need on this one is we want to kind of map over the workflows that we've got available. For each workflow we need to get the jobs out, and we need to make sure that we can access the items within it. So when we're running, we want to start building this. Yeah, I got the light working. So the wife's just walking past everyone.
Hello, goodbye.
She waved and said goodbye. Good to hear you doing good, David. Very good to hear. So what I'm going to quickly do here is I'm going to say for each this workflows as a workflow. Let's just rate out that workflow. Let's just see what we've got. So go back to our workflow runner test. And we just want to say that it can actually run a workflow. We just want to make sure, you know, we're not dying. That's about it. So a runner is we need something like this, don't we? Workflow builder. Runner build workflows. Let's just get all of this over like that. Then that, and that, and I can now import that one and import that one. And now we are good. We now have a runner. So now if we go runner, run, we got a workflow object with a name of test. We have a couple of jobs that we can actually start working with. That works. You know, we're on our way. So our next step on our workflow runner is, now we've got this, we want to go, okay, for each workflow jobs, is that going to be a workflow contract? Wait a minute. And it's going to not be a workflow contract, is it? It's going to be a workflow. A contract is now probably null and void, if I'm completely honest. This is lay out the job. Let's just see how we dive through this. We got for each workflow jobs as job. As index job. No. It's an array. Is that how we want it? Yes and no. If I just get that first item, I kind of feel like I need to do collections because it might be nicer. We'll try it. Composer require illuminate support. I don't want the full thing, do I? Pretty sure Titan did something. Titan collection. Here we go. This is what I mean. Titan collect. Titan code collect. Excellent. So that means that our workflow here isn't actually going to have an array. We want to have collection, and we're going to import. Apparently this is only the helper method. Source collect, support collection, Titan collect, support collection. So I should be able to use this. So I think I'm just having a little funny moment with PHP Storm here. That's all. Let's have a look. There we go. So we are good. We are good. This is now a collection of jobs. So we are going to get some failures now. Too few arguments passed to value object, workflow construct, workflow builder. Cool. So in our workflow builder, our jobs is a new collection. I'm just going to pass in that new collection. And what we want to do is now is workflow jobs add our item, which is a new job instead of an array push. A little bit cleaner, I must admit. So now let's just run this. And now we're getting failures on. It can run a workflow. Cannot use object of type value object job as array. Perfect. So let's get back to where we were. Workflow runner here. So now we can lay out the workflow. We've got jobs, a collection of items. So now I can go workflow jobs. So if I do array of workflows like that, our workflow is going to be int workflow. I'm going to map over each job and just lay out that job quickly. So we've got a job. Excellent, we're getting there. We're moving through it slowly. So we can get that job. And what we want to do with that job is something really, really simple. Is this is where we're going to do lots of checks. Basically, we're going to say, okay, so if the class doesn't exist, so the class is the job target. Then you want to throw a new workflow exception with the message of workflow target does not exist. This might be better as a actual function so that I can do a little bit more with it. There we go. Just so that exceptions directory. Oh, you're good eyes, good eyes. Cool, we're good. So basically, if a target class on that job doesn't exist, we want to throw an exception and say, no, you're passing me nonsense. But also, if the method doesn't exist on those arguments are object or class and string method. The job target and the method is job method. Then again, we're going to throw another workflow exception with the message of job method on target does not exist on target job target. So that's kind of what we've got so far. Then we want to get the actual class itself by saying we want to get a new reflection class, and the objective class that we want to look at is the job target. So once we've got the class, we want to try to instantiate it by calling a new instance. So basically, let's just use reflection here to try to get hold of it. This could throw an exception. This could fail. This could die for multiple reasons. We'll just import that one quickly, and we're just going to throw another workflow exception. So this time our message is going to be that we cannot construct the job target. And we are going to pass through the previous exception so they can see that trace nicely. So then if we do have that target, all we've got to do is say target job method job args. So there might be a nicer way to do that part, I'm not going to lie, but all we're doing is for each job that we're getting through, each one of these here, we're going to try to build, we're going to make sure that this class exists. So we've got a full namespace path. Let's just see if we can find that class. Does it exist? Then we're going to see if this method exists on that class. If it does, and if it does, we're going to try to create this class. We're going to try and construct it. We're not using DI or anything. Might be something to look at further down the line, but not right now. Then once we've got that, we're going to run the method, whatever method is on this this job, and then we're going to pass through the arguments. We're just going to break them down, pass through the arguments there. So now we're looking pretty good. Our workflow runner obviously has very little tests. So what we need to do, we need to run through our workflow runner and make sure that we're covering aspects of it from a testing perspective. So this kind of works, but what I want to do is just before each, I just want to make sure I've got things set up. So I want to say something like that. I just want to start it off in some sort of basic way. So for each one we should have this runner. So now what I can do is it can run a workflow, expect this runner run to not fail, to I don't know, how do I test this one? What have we got? To be empty, to be callable, to be falsy, to be file, to be less than. I'm not. There's nothing I can really test on it because kind of. I just want to make sure that it doesn't throw anything. PHP unit test doesn't throw exception. Test and exception is not thrown. See, there's nothing actually running on this. If anyone's got any ideas in the chat, just shout it out. But basically, when I'm running, I'm not actually doing anything. I mean, I suppose I could have something like a protected array of logs. So when we run, we can do something like like that. And right at the end of it, you can just do like but this is just for testing purposes, right? It just doesn't feel like it's worth doing. So if I just say this runner run array this runner logs. So if I just clear that quickly and just run. So we got it. We got test and the arguments that are coming back. So we can do something. So this runner run. So we're expecting that to run. So to start with, what we could probably do is expect that this runner logs would be array to be empty. Then we run, and then we can say expect this runner logs to still be an array. Okay, so to equal an array where we get test message test number 10 and option true, and then another test. So like that. So that's testing how that works. It feels very brittle testing it this way, but they are these stubs and these kind of fixtures are there to allow me to do this sort of thing, I suppose. So while it's a little bit kind of, should I really be doing it this way? At the same time, I feel like it's almost the point of it. So there we go. We know that that's running because that is appearing in there, and that workflow is fine in effect. So a runner can run more than one job. Can run a single workflow. So now we're going to say it can run multiple workflows. It can run multiple workflows, which means that I need to get that, and instead of saying this, I want to create a runner like that. Let's just drop this back there, and Json Loader, simplify that one, and we are going to call that there. So we expect one of the logs to be empty, and then we're going to say run a run. Then we say that we expect, I'm imagining that's going to override. So let's just quickly run that. Put a static property on the stub. You could do. Job construct argument to name must be of type of string int given in workflow builder line 32. So workflow builder line 32. So it's not that last one. Workflow class name. Oh wait. Okay, I get what's going wrong. How long have I been streaming for? Let me just quickly double check. Hour and 27 minutes. We're doing okay for time. We're doing no time. Okay. So I need to make sure I get things correctly passed across. Target method. Workflow test line 58. Workflow builder make test. Workflow runner test line 58. So this is where we might be failing. So this JSON load, let's go look at this JSON loader. Let's just change it quickly. Because I think that might be what could be causing some of the issues here. So basically, we want to replace that. And what we want to do instead is we want to JSON decode. And what we're going to decode is a JSON where we're going to go file get contents. And the file name is going to be the path. Associative array tree. That, in theory, should be the same sort of thing. But so yeah, same sort of thing. Let's clear that. So, we've only got one failure. It can run multiple workflows. Argument number 2, name to be string int given. So is that something to do with how I've set this up? I wonder if this would be better off as an object. I've got test. And that object there is then run. And then the next one is another, where I then grab run. I mean, realistically, I'd probably... there you go. We solved it. So, we are passing. We're doing okay. Let me just close some of these down now that we've got that part running. workflow run a test. We can run multiple workflows. We can run a single workflow. We can build the workflow. What we're also going to want is a kind of want it to also create like a make sure it fails. Like we want to make sure that we can fail properly. So you can run multiple workflows. It throws a workflow exception if target class does not exist. And that's going to throw a workflow exception. Simplify that one quickly. So we need something like this. So we want a workflow. The runner is workflow runner build. Where the workflows is an array. Workflow builder make where the payload is an array and a name. So we want the name to be test. We want to run target testing method is oops. And the args is test. Something really simple. So I'm going to manually make this because that's probably going to work best for us. So then we can say runner run Ooh. Oh, wrong sort of exception, so not the whoops one. Workflow runner. Got the workflow exception going on here. What's going on here? Okay. I want to find a way to keep jobs. Aha. Here's our workflow jobs. That's my fault. Array of arrays, and inside that first one is that. What is name spiv tab string into given. Okay, so let's run here. Now we're looking good. We're getting there. Took us a little bit of time to work our way around that one. Let me get back to the chat so I can make sure I see it. So, hour and 35 minutes, that's not too bad. We're doing okay. We're doing okay. So it throws a workflow exception if a target class doesn't exist. We can kind of live with that, right? So we can also now move on to something extremely similar where we say it throws a workflow exception if method does not exist on target class. So let's just, oopsie daisy, get that in there, and let's pull that in there, and instead of target being testing, we can do test class there, and that should in theory still work, and yes. So I mean, I think you can like do throws, string, exception message. So that exception message is going to be workflow runner. Oops, does not exist on there. Oh, no. Don't want that backslash there. So now we're good. Cool. So we're making sure that that's running, and we can also check that one here and make sure that that is giving us a correct error message as well. Cool. So what we also need, we need a stub in here, and we're going to create a new class of failing test. And this failing test, all we need it to kind of this failing test, all we need it to do is just not be instantiable. So we're going to have very similar to what we've got here, but instead we're going to have a protected function construct and a public static function of make. So that means that we're going to fail to instantiate it because it's a private constructor, a protected constructor, sorry. So the next one should be that unhappy path of it throws a workflow exception if the target class cannot be instantiated. Always got to like say that one out loud just to make sure I'm spelling it correctly. Failing test class run. So they both exist, and it should say cannot construct failing test. So we are good. A failing test is being used, and we're good. That is our workflow runner running. So a recap because that was very much a fly through. Thanks for sticking in there with me. We have got a workflow runner that can accept. Let's come back down to here. We've got a workflow runner which can accept an array of workflows which are in separate files, and each one will run its own little thing. Run its own jobs within there, multiple of. So it's just a pipeline where you can say, right, run these tasks. Here's all of the tasks I want you to run. Here's one job which is called X. Here's a workflow called X with some jobs within it. And the easiest way to see that is to look at the YAML, I suppose. Is we've got a test job which hits that method, passes some arguments through to it. This is really, really basic and simple sort of stuff. So it's not like we can like pass through a new instance or something, or do any sort of magic constructing. That'd be a really nice way to extend it, but we'd need to look at pulling in like a container, resolving things and doing things like that. So, what else could we potentially need with this? Because that's just under 2 hours and the package is almost done. To install this package, simply use the following composer command. And I'm going to say simply, because that is kind of bad wording. So we'll say composer require just Steve King workflow. And the usage is to create a new workflow runner. All you need to do is build it. It will take an optional array of workflows for you to pass in, or you can have it to default to empty to programmatically build it yourself. Whew. So there's that part. By the way, if anyone's got any questions while I'm writing this little stuff up, give me a shout. I'll see what I can do to answer them. So to create a new workflow runner, all you need to do is build it. So workflow runner, build. Path to workflow.json. Workflow runner without workflows. With a workflow. Building a workflow to to build a workflow, you can use either a YAML file or a JSON file. So let's just drop the example YAML in there. Drop that JSON in there too. You can pass these files into a workflow builder using the following approach. And there we go. JSON workflow, YAML workflow, So let's make sure that I document this nicely while we go through this. So we've got the workflow runner. Builder. Json Loader. And the YAML loader. There we go. 2 examples of how that works is building a runner without workflows, building it with a workflow. If you want to build a workflow, you can use YAML or JSON. That looks a bit horrible there, so let's example YAML file, workflow file, you can pass these files into a workflow builder using the following approaches: make and make. Excellent. Running a workflow. Once you have built up your workflow runner, all you need to do is run it. Let's come back up here. Get a runner. Should we get it properly? There we go. Each job for each workflow. Any returns will be added to an internal log, allowing you to check that this can be accessed. using logs. Each job for each workflow will anything returned will be added to an internal log on the runner, allowing you to check that they ran, which can be accessed using blah blah blah. Cool. It's a start, right? So, moment of truth. Considering we've not ran this at all throughout the entire thing, static analysis on level 9, that isn't bad. So, the Json Loader. Json Loader. We can ensure that that is running out, that's returning an array. Parameter JSON function, JSON decode, expect string, false given. If there's no file, invalid it's just a standard one. That one. The message is path cannot be accessed. I just need to make a test for the Json Loader. Test loaders, Json Loader. It says an invalid argument exception if the file path does not exist. Ooh. Target contents. Photo open stream. Okay. Try that. Catch exception. Cool. We are looking good. We are doing okay. So, hey, what happened there? So basically, if we can't get the file, then we're just going to say that exception quickly and just go, can't access it, can't be accessed. Or found. Simple. Yeah. Perfect. Analyze again, 1 hour. JSON decode is a string. So JSON decode, the loader. How about now? And now we're good. So, let's get that YAML loader in a minute. We probably want to go contents is that, or try to get the contents again, catch anything that's throwable as the exception, and much like down here, that YAML loader, we want to throw an invalid argument exception. Simplify, and then return we just want to go back to this YAML loader here and do something kind of the same as this. It says an invalid argument exception. Make sure that actually gets caught. That bit doesn't matter, but there we go. Coverage is good. Analysis is good. Any questions before I push up too much? Workflows and jobs are now running as expected. So that is just under 2 hours in. I kind of did want to try and finish a little bit earlier, but I don't think that was going to happen, was it? Unfortunately. So what I'm going to do, close all those tabs, let's close some of that down quickly, create a new directory for GitHub, workflows. This is going to feel really weird just doing the same thing that I just was doing. Test.yaml, and our name is going to be tests. And we want to do on push and pull request realistically. The jobs that we want to run are going to be test. We want this to run on probably, kind of want to build up a matrix, don't we? I think. Tell you what, we are going to borrow from who always knows the best about this sort of stuff, and that is Sparsy. We only want PHP 8 and 8.1. I'm going to set up all of this. We probably don't need half of this. I'm going to leave it because I don't want to break stuff. Cool, set up. I don't know what they're doing there. Matches. I don't have any matches. Tool cache. Install my dependencies. And that. Cool. Git commit. GitHub Actions. So next is we are going to go and create a new repo. For me, we're going to call this workflow, and we're just going to push it up. No problems, Alex. No one's expected to turn up all the time, don't worry. So let's add that remote. Let's see how it goes. So we have something. We have a repo, which I am now going to drop in the chat for you. So here is the repo, so feel free to go have a look at it. The action is currently running against PHP 8.1 and 8 on Windows and Ubuntu, so that should be fine. I imagine it shouldn't have too many issues. We're already passing on 8, kind of as expected. So let's just wait and see. Let's wait and see, shall we? Our README is somewhat reasonable for now. Is there anything that I might have missed? Let's compare it to one of my other libraries. And let's just check. Obviously I've got badges on the other ones, but that's not hugely vital. No, we're looking good. Getting lots of passes so far. 4 out of 8 jobs is working. We are looking like we are doing good. 6 jobs passed. I mean, from static analysis working, everything I would expect to be working is working. I can now just go create a status badge. Don't worry about the event. So now I can come back to my README and I can say I have some cool badges, so nah. Git commit having a super cool badge. And that, ladies, gentlemen, and anything you might wish to be known as, is how we create a package in 2 hours. Give or take, obviously. 2 hours and 3 minutes. Pushed up, working, and it does the trick. So now I can come over here, I can drop that in there, save those changes, and we're good. Next step is packages.org. Can submit my new package. Check. There's some other ones like it. So, not auto updated, so let's go to that. What we want to do, trigger a manual account sync. It's usually the one that I need to do. There we go. So, it's not installable via Composer 1. Perfect. So, that means that down here, I can come to a release, create a new release. We're going to create a 0.0.1 tag, and we're going to say initial release. The initial release allows you to create workflow files and run them. Really simple, simple. Doesn't really need to do too much. So, bish bash, done. Initial release, all up and running. A simple PHP workflow package. I can update that so it's a bit more consistent. Add git commit, update composer description, and we're good. Hey! So, nice and simple. We can now run workflows, and that, my friends, is me. Yeah, you've arrived at the end, so the package is ready for you. But if you want to watch it back, more than likely to do so. You are more than welcome to do so. If you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up so I can know who likes what. Really useful for me when planning new content to see who likes what. Because views aren't really the best metric all the time. You can get a lot of drop-offs with views, whereas likes are a little bit more kind of consistent, and you can count on those. The package is there, it's available to use, just compose and require, just Steve King workflow. You do not have to use files, as you saw. You can just pass through an array, you can just build it up programmatically. Cool little workflow package for you. So there we go. Any questions? There is a link in the description below for my Discord. I'm always available on Discord, chatting to people, helping other people. Recently I've been a little bit busy with work, but not always so busy. Really appreciate everyone who's turned up tonight. Thank you very much. Any feedback, ping me on Twitter at @JustSteveKing. Go check out the repo. Join me on Discord and we can have a chat about it. If you want to drop any PRs, if you've got any cool ideas, please do. I'd love to see what other people think. You love the new camera. Yeah. This is my wife's idea of this camera angle, my kind of like side profile, cool looking thing. But thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to go spend a little bit of time with my wife before I turn in for the night, because I am again working tomorrow. So thank you very much. Have a good evening and